I wrote this poem several years ago, and it was like, for me, for me, for me, before it could ever be for you too. It was basically my rendition of the whole like put your mask on before you put someone else's mask on. And it was my reminder to not be a people pleaser. But the funny story with that is I put that up into this like whiteboard in my bedroom, my childhood bedroom. I'll see if I can get you a picture of that and post it up here. And one time my brother came home and he saw it and he was like, oh my God, like that's so typical of you, so selfish. And I just felt like so misunderstood in that moment, but I just felt not emotionally safe enough at the time to explain what I really meant about it, because it was literally the opposite. It was like, no, I'm too unselfish, and that's why I need to remind myself to do things for me before they can ever be for somebody else. I'm 31 years old now, and I can honestly say I've finally gotten to the point where I'm doing things for me. Like, I literally would remind myself of that all the time, because like most other women, we really are taught to think about everyone else before we think about ourselves. We're taught to put other people's comfort, other people's desires before our own. Also, don't judge my little paper towel bib that I have going on here, because I'm like the queen of getting foundation on my shirt. And we're invited out to eat for iftar because it's the first day of Ramadan. And I don't have time. I'm like gonna rush through all of this. Let's just hope my makeup turns out all right, because I haven't rushed and put on makeup in a really long time. So just pray for me. Ooh, that was a close call. I think this applies to all women, but we're just not only taught to think about other people before us, but also taught to seek other people's validation. Like, our sense of safety and identity sometimes comes from the way that other people think about us. And I actually really love the 20-something version of me that was wise enough to understand that, like, at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one left with my choices. I'm going to be the one left with my life decisions. And I just felt really afraid of living my life for someone else. Like, on one hand, I was wise enough to understand that that's how I was raised. That's what I was grappling with. I was wise enough to understand that a lot of my behaviors really were like validation seeking behaviors or approval seeking behaviors. So that was kind of my little like reminder and note to self to do things for me first before they could ever then be for somebody else. So I just think you should ask yourself, why are you doing the things that you do? The degree that you're pursuing, maybe even the relationship that you're in, the decisions that you're making in your day-to-day, things that you're pretending to like or not like. Are those things that you think are going to gain approval? Are you getting the sense at all that those are things that you're doing mostly for someone else and not really for yourself? And if you answer that question with a yes, like if you feel like some of the things that you're doing in your life and the decisions that you're making are for someone other than you. Like in my case, when I asked myself that question, even about my degree, even about my MBA, and I allowed myself to be honest with myself, I had to basically make a pact with my inner dialogue that like, if I say yes to this, you can't judge me, you can't yell at me. And I just want you to do that with yourself too. Like, give yourself the safe space to be honest about why it is that you do what you do. And if you do find that part or even all of the reason is for someone else, don't beat yourself up about that. Like, don't beat yourself up about that. Be real about it. And from there, ask yourself if there's a way that you can make it a little bit more about you and a little bit less about them. Because let's be real, a lot of us grew up in cultures where we are gonna think about other people. Like, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about us, if I'm being honest, is that our decisions are not inherently selfish. Like, we do think about our parents, we do think about our families when we decide on big life things for us. But I think it becomes problematic when they are the only reason why we're doing or not doing certain things. Because at the end of the day, like, they're not living your life. They're not in your shoes. And the worst thing, at least for me, is to imagine that like I look back on my life and I felt like I lived that for somebody other than me. I never want to look at my decisions and feel like someone else was the reason I made them. Do you need to come in at all, boo?
I just want to do my hair.
Okay, yeah, look, come. I can guarantee for most people in your life, if they truly knew that you trying to seek their approval would make you seriously unhappy, they would not want you to do the thing they're telling you to do. For most of them, they're only asking you to do that because they think that that's going to lead to a life of happiness and prosperity. And for the ones who would be okay with you being unhappy, I would be willing to bet that you would be okay disappointing the people who don't want you to be happy. So I just want you to take control of your life, and trust yourself. Trust that what you want for a reason. Like, you're not feeling this yearning or desire for something, especially something that feels risky and different, for no reason. Like, you're not just trying to do something different for no reason. You're doing it because there's something pulling you and calling you to do that. One of the best lessons I've learned in adulthood is that a boundary always seems so much scarier before you set it than when you actually set it. You start to have all these anxieties and start to anticipate how people are going to react to you standing up for yourself and you setting a boundary and kind of taking control of your life. And it's to be expected that you're so nervous about it because you've never done that before. But 9 times out of 10, it's so much scarier in anticipation of it than when you actually do it. There is a sense of relief that usually comes with just standing up for yourself, that even when they do respond in a not so favorable way, you feel a sense of self-respect. You feel a sense of relief of just saying the thing that you've been dying to say. If you take nothing else from this little get ready with me attempt at a conversation, I just want you to know that you will not enjoy anything in your life if you are solely doing it for someone else. And when you know that you're doing things for yourself, it'll make it that much easier, infinitely easier, for you to actually have peace, that nobody else is dictating what your life looks like. You'll finally be able to own up to your life and take responsibility for the things that aren't going the way that you want them and turn those things around, because no one else is responsible. No one else is to blame. Whereas if you feel like you're doing life for someone else, you put yourself in kind of this victim mindset where you're blaming them for things that really should be in your hands. Take it back. Take it into your hands so that you can actually start building and creating a life that you love instead of resenting a life that you feel you've been forced into. I love you so, so much. I really gotta go. And as always, stay powerful, my love.